Hey, we're in Joshua chapter 7, chapter 8. And here's what we find. They have just defeated Jericho. They have destroyed the city. God and Joshua were extremely clear on what the rules were, on what the conquest of war was going to be for this battle. Now, in this story that we're going to read next in Joshua chapter 7 and with Achan, we're going to find that there's always one. It doesn't matter if it's just the one bad kid at school or the one guy that wants to get away with something that they shouldn't or whatever. There's always one or more that wants to bend the rule, break the rule, try to get away with it. And I tell you what, it boils down to being selfish. It boils down to thinking that they are more important than anybody else. And this is what happens in this next passage with Joshua. So let's get into that. The Lord's command to Israel not to take anything from Jericho, take it from Jericho, anything that was to be destroyed, was not obeyed. A man named Achan disobeyed that order, and so the Lord was furious with the Israelites. Achan was a son of Carmi, the grandson of Zabdi, and belonged to the clan of Zerah, a part of the tribe of Judah. Joshua sent some men from Jericho to Ai, a city east of Bethel, near Bethaven, with orders to go and explore the land. When they had done so, they reported back to Joshua, "There's no need for everyone to attack Ai. Send only about 2,000 or 3,000 men. Don't send the whole army up there to fight. It's not a large city." So about 3,000 Israelites made the attack, but they were forced to retreat. The men of Ai chased them from the city gate as far as some quarries and killed about 36 of them on the way down the hill. Then the Israelites lost their courage. They were afraid. Joshua and the leaders of Israel tore their clothes in grief, threw themselves to the ground before the Lord's covenant box, and lay there till evening, with dust on their heads to show their sorrow. And Joshua said, "Sovereign Lord, why did you bring us across the Jordan at all? To turn us over to the Amorites? To destroy us? Why didn't we just stay on the other side of the Jordan? What can I say, O Lord, now that Israel has retreated from the enemy? The Canaanites and everyone else in the country will hear about it. They will surround us and kill every one of us. And then what will you do to protect your honor?" The Lord said to Joshua, "Get up. Why are you lying on the ground like this? Israel has sinned. They have broken the agreement with me that I had ordered them to keep. They have taken some of the things condemned to destruction. They stole them, lied about it, put them with their own things. This is why the Israelites cannot stand against their enemies. They retreat from them because they themselves have now been condemned to destruction. I will not stay with you any longer unless you destroy the things you are ordered not to take. Get up, purify the people, and get them ready to come before me. Tell them to be ready tomorrow, because I, the Lord God of Israel, have this to say. Israel, you have in your possession some things that I ordered you to destroy. You cannot stand against your enemies until you get rid of these things. So tell them that in the morning they will be brought forward, tribe by tribe. The tribe that I pick out will then come forward, clan by clan. The clan that I pick out will come forward, family by family. The family I pick out will come forward one by one. The one who is then picked out and found with the condemned goods will be burned along with his family and everything he owns, for he has brought terrible shame on Israel and has broken my covenant. Early the next morning, Joshua brought Israel forward, tribe by tribe, and the tribe of Judah was picked out. He brought the tribe of Judah forward, clan by clan, and the clan of Zerah was picked out. Then he brought the clan of Zerah forward, family by family, and the family of Zabdi was picked out. Then he brought Zabdi's family forward, one by one, and Achan, the son of Carmi, the grandson of Zabdi, was picked out. Joshua said to him, "My son, tell the truth here before the Lord, the God of Israel, and confess. Tell me what you have done. Don't try to hide it from me." "It's true," Achan answered. "I have sinned against the Lord, Israel's God, and this is what I did. Among the things we seized, I saw a beautiful Babylonian cloak, about 5 pounds of silver, and a bar of gold weighing over 1 pound. I wanted them so much that I took them. You will find them buried inside my tent with the silver at the bottom." So Joshua sent some men who ran to the tent and found that the condemned things really were buried there, with the silver at the bottom. They brought them out of the tent, took them to Joshua and all the Israelites, and laid them down in the presence of the Lord. Joshua, along with all the other people of Israel, seized Achan, the silver, the cloak, the bar of gold, together with Achan's sons and daughters, his cattle, his donkeys, his sheep, his tent, everything else he owned, and they took them to Treble Valley. Joshua said, "Why have you brought such trouble on us? The Lord will now bring trouble on you." And all the people then stoned Achan to death. They also turned and burned his family possessions, and they put a huge pile of stones over him, which is there to this day. That is why the place is still called Treble Valley. Then the Lord was no longer furious. The Lord said to Joshua, "Take all the soldiers with you and go up to Ai. Don't be afraid or discouraged. I will give you victory over the king of Ai. His people, his city, the land will be yours. You are to do to Ai and its king what you did to Jericho and its king. But this time you may keep its good and livestock for yourselves. Prepare to attack the city by surprise from the rear." So Joshua got ready to go to Ai with all his soldiers. He picked out 30,000 of his best troops and sent them out at night with these orders: "Hide on the other side of the city, but not too far away from it, and be ready to attack. My men will approach the city. When the men of Ai come out against us, we will turn and we'll run just as we did the first time. They will pursue us until we have led them away from the city, and they will think that we are running from them as we did before. Then you will come out of hiding and capture the city. The Lord your God will give it to you. And after you've taken the city, set it on fire, just as the Lord has commanded. These are your orders." So Joshua sent them out, and they went to their hiding place and waited there, west of Ai, between Ai and Bethel. Joshua spent the night in camp. Early in the morning, Joshua got up and called the soldiers together, and then he and the leaders of Israel led them to Ai. The soldiers with him went toward the main entrance to the city and set up camp on the north side with a valley between themselves and Ai. And he took about 5,000 men and put them in hiding west of the city between Ai and Bethel. The soldiers were arranged for battle, with the main camp north of the city and the rest of the men to the west. Joshua spent the night in the valley. When the king of Ai saw Joshua's men, he acted quickly. He and all his men went out toward the Jordan Valley to fight the Israelites at the same place as before, not knowing that he was about to be attacked from the rear. Joshua and his men pretended that they were retreating and ran away toward the barren country. All the men in the city had been called together to go after them, and they pursued Joshua. And they kept getting farther away from the city. Every man in Ai went after the Israelites, and the city was left wide open with no one to defend it. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Point your spear at Ai. I am giving it to you." Joshua did as he was told, and as soon as he lifted his hand, the men who had been hiding got up quickly, ran into the city, and captured it. They immediately set it on fire, and the men of Ai looked back. They saw the smoke rising to the sky. There was no way for them to escape because the Israelites who had run toward the barren country now turned around to attack them. When Joshua and his men saw that the others had taken the city, that it was on fire, they turned around and began killing the men of Ai. The Israelites in the city now came down to join the battle. So the men of Ai found themselves completely surrounded by Israelites, and they were killed. No one got away, and no one lived through it, except the king of Ai. He was captured and taken to Joshua. The Israelites killed every one of the enemy in the barren country where they had chased them. And then they went back to Ai and killed everyone there. And Joshua kept his spear pointed to Ai, and did not put it down until every person had been killed. The whole population of Ai was killed that day, 12,000 men and women. The Israelites kept for themselves the livestock and goods captured in the city as the Lord had told Joshua, and Joshua burned Ai and left it in ruins. It is still like that today. He hanged the king of Ai from a tree and left his body there until evening. At sundown, Joshua gave orders for the body to be removed, and it was thrown down at the entrance to the city gate. They covered it with a huge pile of stones, which is still there today. Then Joshua built on Mount Ebal an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel. He made it according to the instructions that Moses, the Lord's servant, had given the Israelites, as it says in the law of Moses, an altar made of stones which have not been cut with iron tools. On it they offered burnt sacrifices to the Lord, and they presented their fellowship offerings. There the Israelites looking on, Joshua made on the stones a copy of the law which Moses had written. The Israelites, with their leaders, officers, and judges, as well as the foreigners among them, stood on two sides of the Lord's covenant box, facing the Levitical priests who carried it. Half of the people stood with their backs to Mount Gerizim, and the other half with their backs to Mount Ebal. The Lord's servant, Moses, had commanded them to do this when the time came for them to receive the blessing. Joshua then read aloud the whole law, including the blessings and the curses, just as they were written in the book of law. Every one of the commandments of Moses was read by Joshua to the whole gathering, which included women and children, as well as the foreigners living among them. So again, we see Joshua reminding the people of the law, of how they are supposed to follow God. The story with Achan has meaning still today. When we sin, when we do wrong, when we are selfish, we think that it really only affects us. You know what? I'm to blame. It's my fault. Do what you got to do or whatever. But the reality is, just like Achan, it affected his kids. It affected his spouse. It affected his animals, his pets, his food, his livelihood. When we sin, don't fool yourself into thinking that it's only affecting you. It affects everybody around you, your friends, your family, your parents, your kids. It doesn't matter. When sin is let go, when we act out, um, it affects everybody. And the Lord is not pleased by it. That's when forgiveness comes in, and we have to seek God's forgiveness. All right. Have a great day. Bye.